All right, a look at that fuel price now. A R1.50 reduction in the general fuel levy will continue through the month of June. Treasury made the announcement earlier today ahead of the new petrol price adjustments that was announced a short while later by the Department of Energy. 95-octane petrol will still increase by R2.33 a litre at midnight, but without the extension of the R1.50 cut on that levy, petrol prices would have been hiked by almost R4. Ismail Momoniat is the Deputy Director General at the Treasury. He joins me now. Mr. Momoniat, thanks very much indeed for talking to us. That levy reduction, as I understand it now, continues for the month of June, and then we have a smaller reduction in July. Come August, the relief ends altogether. Just take us through Treasury's decision when it came to this, Mr. Momoniat.
Okay, no, thanks, Devin. I think let me start by saying, you know, there's a lot of misinformation that's out there. Firstly, obviously, it's no secret, but we're very transparent that, you know, we do tax fuel for a very good reason, let me say. It includes, you know, just dealing with the negative or adverse problems you have with using fossil fuels, some of the emissions and so on. And yes, partly to get revenue. And I should add that government generally has a tax on most products through VAT, for example. So the right of government to tax is there, and we're transparent about it. And if you don't tax, for example, fuel, you'll have to tax something else to get the same level of revenue. So what government's done is we announce, obviously, every year in the February budget what the level of the fuel levy will be, or the road accident fund levy, and so on. And we've realized that, in fact, on the day of the budget, the Russian army invaded Ukraine, and for all sorts of other reasons, that your fuel prices have begun to rise significantly, as we see. And we understand the impact on households, the shock, and and what we've done is something quite unprecedented. To sort of mid-year, we did this a bit in COVID, but not on fuel, where we're saying, look, let's look at what we can do to provide temporary relief to smoothen the process of getting all of us used to paying higher prices. The higher prices, as you know, are driven because of the international fuel price, Brent crude in this case, and of course the rand-dollar exchange. And those two factors have all been going the wrong way, and hence, like you say, we would have had a big increase of R4 next month. That's starting tomorrow. So what we've done is we've said we'll continue the fuel levy, which was due to cut the relaxation of R1.50 was supposed to come to an end today. And if it came to an end, it means that the increase would be R4. So in a sense, because we reduce the fuel levy for 2 months, the jump to the new higher level is bigger at R4. And to smooth that path, we've said, let's continue for 1 month at R1.50 for most of June. And then for July, we'll halve that amount to 75 cents. And then, like you said, from August, the intention is to go back to the level that we announced at the time of the budget.
Let me come in there. So it was R6 billion that you got from selling the oil reserves to fund the first 2 months of that levy reduction. I'm wondering where the money is coming for the June extension, Deputy DG. I mean, you say in the press release that the fiscal year could be affected by this. Is that a worry?
Yeah, look, there will be an impact on the fiscal framework. We estimate of about 4.5 billion rands less revenue that we're going to collect. But we're living in times of great uncertainty, and we felt that, you know, it's possible that that by looking at other measures, that we'd be able to recover a lot of that 4.5 billion. So, for example, we're still talking to the Strategic Fuel Fund to see if besides what we announced 2 months ago, you know, can they raise a bit more through sales? Again, we're looking at revenue, and whilst it's too early to tell, but you know, if you look at the impact on commodity prices and so on, it may well be that we may have positive news. We don't know yet, and we felt that, you know, we can leave this decision to October, when a medium-term budget policy statement is made by the minister, to assess just how much out we may be from the fiscal framework. We've made the point that our objective is to stick to the fiscal framework, and to the extent that any adjustments may or may not be required, that announcement can wait till October.
Yeah. Deputy DG, so I see also in that statement the demand-side levy of 10 cents has also been terminated. Then the other proposed interventions, we're looking at the reduction of the basic fuel price. There's an intention to have a 3-cent reduction at least in the coming months. And one would ask, over and above that, I mean, is there a long-term effort to actually reduce this fuel price, or are we really at the mercy of what happens with the rand-dollar exchange rate and just to accept what's going on with the oil price? Are we at the mercy of those two big factors, or are there longer-term interventions?
We are at the mercy of those two factors, but there's also good reason to have a fuel levy. For example, if you look at fossil fuel emissions and their impact on communities, on climate change, that there's good reason to have those taxes. And if you look at many countries in Europe, their taxes are set far higher. Yes, the US is far lower, but part of it is because I think there's an obsession with having cheap fuel prices, no matter what, and that hasn't helped climate change. So the US also needs to review its whole approach to fuel. So yes, the fuel levy will stay. I think there's some scope to assess perhaps other components or levies that there are currently in the system. Like the minister announced, there's also the road accident fund, which is dependent on fuel sales as well. And that's something that I think we feel we can review and see if we can ease the burden on that side. That said, let me say, we're also mindful that in South Africa, our communities are more dependent on fossil fuels for transport, and especially when public transport is not as good as it should be. And if you look at for example, the fact that many of your train lines and the PRASA, for example, have suffered the last 2 years, may not be functional, people are therefore even more dependent, given our spatial divide and the apartheid, on fuel, whether they take public transport like taxis or whether they travel by, obviously, in their own cars. So we've been mindful of that, and I think that for the medium to longer term, we're going to have to address the issues, those sorts of challenges that we face in society.
Before I let you go, this is my final question very briefly, Deputy DG. Up until today, you still have those that say, well, look, you know, we pay these tax on fuel and they get lost in the revenue fund. We simply do not know what they're being used for. How do you respond to remarks like that?
I think that those are comments from people who have not tried to look at the budget documentation. Now, I don't expect everyone to look at the budget documentation. They may not be the most exciting documents to read. But our budget, you know, is known for its transparency. We are in the top number 1 or number 2 for many, many years now. We show where all the money goes. Basically, with tax revenue, we don't like dedicated taxes or earmarked taxes. All monies go into the National Revenue Fund, so it's fully transparent. And then all those monies get allocated through the budget, and that is transparent as well. Obviously, how it's spent is another issue, because that you can only check at the end of the financial year. But all of that is shown. So if you know, we would invite the public to go onto the Treasury website, look for the budget review. You can find that kind of detail. Many people come as if it's a conspiracy. Government, you know, do you know government is charging you these taxes? Well, we say it, we're transparent, we're open about it. It's not a secret. Go and look at the budget review, it's all in there. So you have these viral videos that are going around where people, come and paint this as a conspiracy and as a secret. It's not there. And those amounts also get audited. So it's been like that for many years. And yes, we are now in times of stress, and government is taking steps to assist households and businesses. And it's not a secret. And government needs to have forms of revenue. We can have a debate about what to impose a tax on as well. Can I also add that, this does raise other broader issues as well. So, for example, there's been, many who have been leading the fore who are now asking us not to increase the fuel levy or to bring back the 150. We're also asking about putting e-tolls on the fuel levy. And now they've gone silent, even as they make those demands. Because that shows you cannot overstretch any tax instrument. You've got to have a variety of different funding sources, including user charges and so on, and not put the full burden, for example, on the fuel levy. And government is sensitive to that when we look at the overall structure of the tax system.
Deputy Director General at the Treasury, Ismail Momoniat, thanks very much indeed for talking to us.